So that's sort of some of the results of, and I guess maybe one other note about what we learned from our MICHR pilot and the evaluation we use. Well, we decided, well, again, we want data that can be really comparable. And so what we learned from Grub is that they use, as part of their pre and post survey with their families, they use the USDA's Household Food Security Survey. Well, look, there's already validated, kind of vetted survey data that says, how much am I feeling like I can afford to make healthy meals, and how much do I need to rely on food banks or food pantries, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we use that as our pre and post, and go figure, there was a great increase in household food security and ability to access healthy food after people were growing the food and had it right there outside of their yards or apartments or whatever it was themselves. So we can validate what we knew, right? Often in community work, you kind of know that impact. But now that we can use numbers, and numbers that are nationally, where there's national baseline data and local and regional baseline data, we can say this intervention, if you want to talk about it from that public health kind of language, is a valid and affordable and accessible way to build long-term capacity through these sort of partnerships to help people improve their lives, improve their health, improve their economic well-being, et cetera. So actually that was the very first family. It was an Ann Arbor family we did the install with. We've also raised beds up so that someone in a wheelchair, so that they can grow, families and volunteers. And this is pretty much all done with volunteers. Many of our program-related staff are AmeriCorps Vista members. We have some professional staff now, but this is all thanks to volunteers leveraging volunteers, pretty much. We also sell raised bed kits. Some of our kids, I'm not going to go into this, we run after-school programs. We're doing healthy cooking and gardening together, and they've come visit our Growing Hope Center, and they visit our downtown Ypsi Farmers Market. And we have a summer program where kids are growing and harvesting, and I could tell you lots of stories of kids who'd never eaten any of these vegetables, picking them, washing them, harvesting them, cooking them right on site at our urban farm into stir fry, and eating them, and stories from parents saying they came home and they said that this is what we need to go to the store and get, and make homemade whole wheat pizza, for instance, or put spinach and kale in smoothies. And parents saying kids going home and sort of demanding that, and talk about impact on healthy eating. We have a youth leadership program with high school interns who are peer educators, peer nutrition educators to younger youth. They're some of our interns. We run a summer camp in the West Willow neighborhood in partnership with their community garden and neighborhood association there, where we're also doing gardening and nutrition and cooking. And again, volunteers, 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 and that's how this happens. And then the downtown Ypsi Farmers Market is the last sort of example. Actually, I'll just run through. We run the downtown Ypsi Farmers Market. We started this in 2006. It's going on right now, Tuesday afternoons, 2 to 6. Check out our website, read all our data about it. We were the third market in Michigan to accept food stamps, and this year over 60 markets across Michigan accept food stamps, and we're excited to be one of many and a partner and a peer to many that do. So this is a way to bring healthy food access and economic revitalization and vitality to our downtown. Over 800 people come to our market in high season. And that's 800 people in a 4-hour block on a Tuesday afternoon in downtown Ypsi, which is a lot more than are there otherwise, and they're also shopping and visiting other downtown business and institutions. And we also find, because we evaluate, that our customers are eating more fruits and vegetables because they're coming to the market. We're across the street from a low-income senior high-rise, and our sales have grown from about 8,000, I think, the first year of total sale, or 15,000 of the first year of all vendors, then 22, then 28, then 65, then $108,000 of total sales among vendors. So this is really, and our vendors, majority of them make less than $25,000 a year. And so in terms of bringing income and incorporating entrepreneurism, we've started some entrepreneurial training and business planning training for current and new vendors. And our vendors come from the low-income senior areas across the street. One of our core bakers is a key core vendor who attracts customers there, and Amish farmers as far as 2 hours away, and everyone in between. So that's a little bit of that. We have a number of other programs through partnerships at the market. In 2009, of 108,000 in sales, 22,000, almost 20% of the sales were using food stamps and other non-cash incentive programs for low-income families. And that's a yearly comparison of EBT sales, food stamp sales at the market. So people want healthy food, and if given the opportunity and the resources, they will access it. So if you thought otherwise, that's the end of that. We also have probably the most economically and culturally diverse market of both vendors and customers in Washington County. Okay, so then let's talk about Jenny G here in the middle. So we realized at the farmers market, again, thinking about these things of limiting factors and how can we as a small urban market help people grow. Well, we learned over the years of running a market that barriers to entry in food-related entrepreneurism are very real, specifically and almost only of people having access to commercial kitchens. Because to make most things, you need commercial kitchens. Whole uncut fruits and vegetables, all fine. There's not a regulation around the prepared food, of course, there's a whole kind of regulation. We have tamales at our market. But in terms of baked goods, jams and jellies, salsas, anything like that, commercial kitchen was barrier, and we knew this because we were getting calls. We work, again, at those variety of levels, in the individual on-the-ground level all the way up to kind of policy environment level, because we were getting calls every day at times and every week. Hey, I want to sell at your market. Hey, I'm a startup entrepreneur. Hey, I've got this product, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And our first question is, do you prepare it in a licensed commercial kitchen? That's the law. And people almost always say, no, do you know where there is one? Or no, I looked, I couldn't find one. Or no, it was so far and I don't have a car. Or no, it was like this crazy rate I couldn't afford and I had to do it in the middle of the night, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we were hearing this, and we had a couple of vendors who we knew sort of we grandmothered in, we like to say, under the radar. Were creating products that weren't in kitchens because we knew they didn't have access to it. And when we learned more about the regulations, we didn't want to kick them out. So we got busy in. So there was some legislation that went before the Michigan legislature for the last several years and had gone nowhere, had died in committee, called the Cottage Food Bill. And so it picked back up, and there was really honestly, there was a political opportunity for someone to pick it up, and Pam Burns, who you may know, was our state representative at that state senator at that time? No, she ran for senator. She was a state representative at that time. And I had just sort of informational, learn about growing hope meetings with her and in the last couple of years, and said, just to raise awareness, and said, hey, I'm interested in this bill. Well, so a year later, I get a call from her office saying, well, we're going to introduce it. Can you come and help us rally some people? So, she was using me to kind of do her work, but that was okay because we really want to move this forward. And so we rallied, and because the farmers markets across Michigan are really well networked on a listserv, and we just really know each other, we could kind of rally across the state because we all face this issue and get people up to Lansing to testify at the state ag committee hearings, and we did, and it went well. And even though the Department of Agriculture and the Farm Bureau were both against it initially, there was a working group that worked after the first hearings to try to make it acceptable to them. And again, this had gone nowhere for many years. And this year it was passed into law unanimously by the House and the Senate last July. And then Jenny G called. I like to call her Jenny G. Jenny G called to say that she was going to come to our place to sign it. And I was in Montreal on vacation and getting home midnight the night before. So we scrambled and had a really good time hosting the governor and her little secret service and all of that. About 100 people and a lot of media. And she signed into law at the Growing Hope Center, which is our urban farm, which I'll close with in just a second. I know we're running through time. And so we feel really good about that. And what this does is it allows entrepreneurs who are doing direct-to-customer sales, so mostly at farmers markets, but also country fairs and bake sales, that sort of thing, up to a threshold of $15,000 of income can, without a commercial kitchen, produce baked goods, non-perishable baked goods, jams and jellies, flavored vinegars, and dried herbs. So pickles don't count and salsa doesn't count. But those are fairly food-safe items without needing to process them in a commercial kitchen, and they can do that legally. And we saw an impact. She came in and signed this last July, and we saw an impact almost immediately in our market. And have this year seen a lot more new entrepreneurs who otherwise could not have been new entrepreneurs in a market because they couldn't have sold legally. So we know that that's not as much about fruits and vegetable, but it's about viability of farmers markets. And for us, it's not just about the people like the great new Jamaican vendors doing these amazing plantain tarts, which I am going to try to get back and get before the market closes today. But it's also about our growers, because our farmers often supplement income. And so say, hey, there's a bad tomato season, and so if they can make pies or jams and jellies or something like that, that's really key for agricultural sort of viability, is a diversity of products. And so this has actually allowed our growers to also diversify what they're doing to make their farm market experience more viable. So we feel pretty good about that. And then Jenny G's office called in December, right before she left town. And so I just got appointed actually in part as a result of this, and when she came, you know, I spent some time with her and spoke before she spoke, etc. So I just got appointed to the Michigan Food Policy Council. So now I'm getting more involved in statewide policy decisions, and that was sort of a direct result of kind of this, which is all a result of our like evaluating and tracking and those sort of things that let us know, here are the limiting factors, here's what's happening, here are the sales, and make that case for whether the economic argument or the health impact or the food security impact of our work. And I'm just going to show you these pictures because you're going to come really soon to our urban farm, the Growing Hope Center, which we are really close to the rest of the money we need to get open this year. So I know all of you will go to our website at growinghope.net and make your pledge or contribution and talk to me about that afterwards. But this is on Michigan Avenue between public housing and formerly two unhealthy liquor stores / drug havens. And this is our urban farm that we've been over the last 3 years developing into our home and demonstration site. Both a green building, and it doesn't look, this is the before pictures, and we are trying to change the fabric and the face as we root deeper in our community. We will have our offices in the house, hopefully later this year if we get the rest of the pledges that we need. And we are already running an active urban farm that you've heard me sort of refer to. And some of the features on this 1.4 acre site that had a dairy on it in the 1920s and a grocery store in the 1930s. We have a 30 by 96 foot hoop house, which is pretty fun in the winter, spring, summer, or fall, growing food all year round. We harvest through December in here without external heat. Showcasing a lot of different things. Everything that we've done, we showcase here sort of on the site. And you can see what it looks like in the winter. That's the outside of the hoop house, demonstrating the raised beds and showing, hey, here, this is where we do the training builds for volunteers who are going to work with families, or we bring families to show this is what you could have in your house, etc. That's a lot of salad in that 1 4 by 4 foot bed. We grew in 2010, 22,000 pounds of food, 12,000 just in our hoop house. Et cetera, et cetera. We donate, we sell, we share, et cetera. That's in the middle of the winter when there's tons of snow outside. That's what we get to eat inside. And that is, again, snow outside. That's what we eat inside. So you can see just a few pictures of our urban farm. There's those tomatoes in the summertime. We have events. We have an Adobe pizza oven. I'm sure you'll be out and enjoy that with us sometime that our youth employment crew built, et cetera. So I'm going to stop and take questions. And I know you'll come out for a tour sometime soon, or our community potluck, or one of those things. So you guys can come get these later, but I'll stop and take questions for last minute.
Amanda, I'm really sorry.
No questions.
We don't have time for questions here.
No problem.
I know you'll be around, and Fran will be around, but thank you for a fabulous.
Sure.